Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos. West Ham 2, Manchester United 0 at the London Stadium. Now our second defeat of the Premier League season, and now it's the second time in 2 seasons we have lost to West Ham at the London Stadium. So this does now mean we have only registered 8 points from 6 games, and that is nowhere near good enough, to our current standards. So we have played 7 games in all competitions, and we have played 6 games in the Premier League. We do know that obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had made alterations today, from the victory midweek against FC Mestania. We do know Solskjaer went with a 4-2-3-1 formation. He did go with David De Gea in goal. He went with Wan-Bissaka at right back, Harry Maguire and Lindelof at the back. Ashley Young was playing at left back. In the midfield, it was McTominay and Matic. The front attacking three was Daniel James. Daniel James, there was doubts before the game that Daniel James could have missed the game, because we do know that he's recently been injured, but it did confirm prior to the game that Daniel James had travelled with the rest of the Manchester United team to London, so he did play today on that left hand side. Juan Mata, of course, was in the number 10. Andres Pereira was on the right, and of course Marcus Rashford was up top. It has been revealed why Mason Greenwood didn't travel with the rest of his Manchester United teammates to London. Solskjaer did reveal that he has got tonsillitis, so this is why Mason Greenwood didn't make the trip, because there was talks before the game that Mason Greenwood could have started, reflecting on his recent performances and that. But yeah, today I've just seen some of the highlights of the game, and that I don't think we played particularly bad. I thought in periods of the game, and that there was parts where we looked a bit more proactive. We looked like was more on the front foot, and we actually did create chances in the game today. But I've analysed it so far this season. It just seems to be a problem for Man United. We're not scoring enough goals. We've only managed 8 goals so far in the Premier League this season. We're not being clinical enough in front of goal, and we did have big chances today. To get a goal at least. Obviously Juan Mata missed a sitter. Obviously Harry Maguire had a big chance in the second half. If McTominay did quite well today, but West Ham were just more clinical in front of goal. The goals, the first goal West Ham's was from what's his name, Yarmolenko, Andriy Yarmolenko, just before half time. He put West Ham 1-0 up, and then obviously in the second half we did see some substitutions come on in the game. Another bit of bad news to give you an update on is that Marcus Rashford had to come off injured in the game. So obviously Jesse Lingard had to come on for him. We saw Angel Gomez come on, I think, for Juan Mata, and Fred did come on for the Man Utd. So there the substitutions Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did bring on. West Ham's second goal was really good. It was from a free kick from Aaron Cresswell. Very good goal indeed. And obviously that's really bad. Second defeat this season. Haven't won away from home since the PSG game last season. Now I do believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be under more serious pressure. And as I did say, if we do continue this bad run of form, I do believe the pressure will obviously keep mounting up on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that. But some of the blame stems from the team. Obviously some of the blame does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. A lot of people have got doubts now about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I just don't think he's got the stature to get us in that commanding position, of course, where we do want to be in that. But 8 points from 6 games is absolutely terrible, like I currently said. But the vast majority of the blame also stems from the board, because they didn't recommend any sufficient attackers in or midfielders throughout the course of the summer. And we do know that we did recommend 3 good players to the squad. We spent over £140 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, and of course on Harry Maguire. And we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. But we know that isn't enough. So it was good that we did address some of the problematic areas, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. But it was going to be always very difficult for us to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window and that. So I'm still backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I still believe he needs more time to make further more investment in January, also perhaps make further more investment next summer. Also the blame also stems from Ed Woodward, and I think vast majority of Manchester United fans are criticising Ed Woodward, because obviously he's obviously the vice chairman that obviously oversees our transfer business and that. And Solskjaer wasn't backed enough throughout the course of the summer, as we did initially, I'm sure. But I think it did say at the start of the season, regardless of what happens this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, should be safe for at least this season. But I did say to you the other week, if we're not competing for the top 4 by January, then I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could be sacked by Manchester United. And like I did say, now with where it's going at the moment, we're not going to finish in the top 4. We're not even going to finish in the top 6. The way it's going at the moment. And I did initially say at the start of the season, our expectations will be to finish in that top four, maybe perhaps win some silverware, and obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to exceed these expectations, if he's to remain at Manchester United. And I did say, I hope his tenure can become successful at Manchester United, but I just don't think he's good enough. Like I did say to you, I've got a lot of element of concerns about him. Some of his tactics are questionable. I think, he hasn't really got the experience of a manager, not really to the highest level. So that's also another element of concern. And, when he was interim manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in that 3-month period, he did really, really well. He exceeded expectation levels. The results in that were good. But since he got the job in March, earlier on this year, it has just seemed to have basically, all gone wrong. But analysing it so far this season, I haven't really seen much improvements this season than what I saw last season, because last season was a huge disappointment. We finished 6th. Obviously, we failed to qualify for the Champions League, and I did say in that aspect, that went against us in the summer transfer window, because if you're not in Champions League football, then you're going to find it very, very hard to attract players to the elite level. So I just don't know, what's going on, to be quite honest. And if we do continue this bad run of form, I think we could enjoy a worse season this season than what we saw last season. But West Ham themselves, I said, they've enjoyed a pretty decent start to this season. Now they are unbeaten in their last 6 games. They haven't lost, since the opening day of the season. West Ham have got some good players in their team. They've got that Aaron Cresswell. They've got, that Sebastian Haller, who I think they bought throughout the course of the summer. West Ham lost, I think, quite a few players throughout the course of the summer. Don't forget, they have got Jack Wilshere, they've got Philippe Anderson. So West Ham have got good players in their team. And don't forget, they had a couple of injuries before the game. I think Winston Reid was injured. Obviously, they had Arthur Masaku suspended. They've got Mikel Antonio out until January. But, we usually beat West Ham and all that. But like I did say, we lost the fixture last season by 3 goals to 1. So obviously last season, when we lost to West Ham 3-1, obviously that was the turning point of Jose Mourinho's tenure at the football club. And then the vast majority of Man United fans, at that point, wanted him out. So the similar sort of thing now, could replicate with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I still think Man United fans demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out, are a bit silly, because, you can still say he's in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad, which he is. So he definitely needs to make further investment in January and next summer. I do believe, we need at least, 3, world-class signings at least. That, Solskjaer did reveal earlier on in the summer that he does want to bring at least 5 new additions to the squad. This is what he had basically said in that. But yeah, there's still deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed. Yes, today, obviously, we've obviously still got imperative players out, for injury. Don't forget, Pogba's out with injury. Pogba's now, I think, has missed the last 3 games with an ankle injury. Obviously, we do know Martial, I think, and Luke Shaw, they've both missed their last 4 games for Man United, and we are aware, they're very, very imperative players in that. But it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, and, I know we should be in much more of a commanding position than we're in. Obviously, with the dimension in the history of this football club, we should be in much more of a commanding position. Also reflecting on the amount of money that's been invested into the football club in the last 6 or 7 years. But, we're just not. And, why is this, to be quite honest with you? But like I did say, regardless of our managers, no one's going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. We're never going to be the team that was under Alex Ferguson. But if we had to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who, would you recommend into the football club? And that is the question. Because obviously, before we did appoint Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in as Manchester United manager, obviously, there was quite a few names linked with that managerial role at the club. Don't forget, we went in for Pochettino, for a long, long time. He was a leading candidate, to become, manager at Manchester United. And I did say at the time we was in for Pochettino, I did have element of concerns about recommending Pochettino in, even though Pochettino's got that experience. He's got more experience than Solskjaer. He obviously hasn't, won out in terms of silverware as Pochettino, so in that aspect, he hasn't proven himself yet. But he's done really, really well with Tottenham. He's now into his 6th season at Tottenham. Obviously, if Tottenham aren't being competitive enough this season, then he could be also be under pressure at Tottenham. But don't forget, we was in for Pochettino, but it did say at the time, if we had any chance of getting him in, we'd have had to pay compensation from between 35 to 40 million pounds. And I think, the likes of Pochettino, Zinedine Zidane, only would have come into the football club, at the time, if they would have been assured a substantial amount to spend at the football club and that. And I do believe, Solskjaer, did get given a substantial amount to spend throughout the course of summer. Don't forget, he said at the start of the summer that he was going to get around from between 200 and 250 million pounds to spend, and I did initially say, that should be enough, to address the deficiencies in the squad. But we didn't obviously, get all our number 1 priority targets. But we went with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, over Pochettino and Zinedine Zidane, because obviously Solskjaer knows the culture of the football club. Obviously, he was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance, and obviously he was a cheaper solution. We only paid a couple of million to Moll to get him in as interim manager. We paid around 7 or £8 million, to get Solskjaer in permanently and, back in March and that. So if we do get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, then, maybe we could reignite our interest in Pochettino, maybe we could try and go back in for Zinedine Zidane. But who would you bring in, to the football club if Solskjaer, was to be sacked? And I don't want him to be sacked because I love him a lot. Obviously, we've already sacked 3 managers since the Alex Ferguson era, and I did say, we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era, and that. But like I said, we enjoyed the bad season last season. We finished 6th last season and finished 32 points behind Man City. And, we've enjoyed a very, very bad start to the season. Obviously before today, we won our last 2 games on the trot in all competitions, but there weren't convincing performances again, against FC Astana, midweek. It was good to see, more of the kids getting more playing time, and obviously in that aspect, getting more experience and that. So it was good, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, did give a lot of the young players a chance and that, and it was good to see Jones and Rojo and that make their first appearances for the club. But we only won the game by 1-0 don't forget. But it's a good start to the Europa League, like I said. I don't think we're going to win it if we continue this bad run of form. I think the squad's good enough to win it, but I just don't think, they're gelling together, enough. But, AZ Alkmaar and, Partizan Belgrade are going to be much more tougher tests anywhere than FC Astana. So for me, some Man United fans, maybe demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out and that, but for me, I still say, give him a bit more time, to make further more investment in January. But the question is, who will Solskjaer sign in January? Who will he sign next summer? And that's if he's still at Manchester United. And like he did say, Solskjaer said, he wants to continue the policy, of signing young British players. Obviously, that's what he revealed that early on in the summer, that he wanted to, sign young British players, and he's sticking to the same policy. We've got quite a few players on our agenda, who were more than likely set to go in for in January or next summer. Don't forget Jadon Sancho and James Maddison are both, well, I think they're our number 1 priority targets now. I think we're set to go in for them next summer. We are aware they're going to cost the club a substantial amount of money. They're probably going to cost us, Jadon Sancho is going to cost us in the excess of around £100 million. James Maddison is going to probably cost us around 70 or 80 million pounds, and that. Obviously we're seeing James Maddison as an adequate replacement for Paul Pogba, because I still believe Pogba wants out of the football club. And I think James Maddison would be the right solution for Man United, and obviously Jadon Sancho's primarily a right winner, and like I said, if we don't get Champions League football this season, or we're not competing for the, if we don't, then I think Jadon Sancho probably won't come to Manchester United. But we've actually failed to qualify for the Champions League, 3 times out of the 6 seasons, since the Alex Ferguson era. But for me, of what I've seen so far this season, we have created a lot of chances in games, and you can pinpoint some games out already this season that Man United, should have won. We should have won at home to Palace. Palace, we had over 20 odd shots in that game. Obviously, we only managed to score 1 goal, and the blame stems from David De Gea in that particular game. Obviously, with the mistake he made at the end. We really should have won at Southampton, because I didn't think the first half performance was too bad. We should have really won at Wolves, because the first half performance against Wolves was really, really good. So these are games, that have basically, cost us points, but we're just not being clinical enough in front of goal. And this is something, Manchester United do need to justify. And, last season we only managed 53 goals in the Premier League. And, obviously if we do continue the way we are now, we could even score less, Premier League goals than we did last season. That, obviously, we got Aaron Maguire, and obviously you can say he's addressed our defensive deficiencies, but, we are still conceding goals. So for me, in that team, we're lacking leaders. We need someone who can come in who's better at taking set pieces and that. But analysing our squad, it's nowhere near good enough to win the league. It's not even good enough, to challenge for the league. And I don't think, we'll be winning the league at least for the next maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe even 5 years and that. But like I said, there were some players that performed okay today. Juan Mata had a decent chance. He really should have scored. I think the games that Mata has played, I'll credit him in the aspects. I think he has, done quite well as Juan Mata. I thought McTominay, stood out again today. Obviously, he was rested midweek against FC Astana, but obviously, played today. And I think McTominay has been very, very consistent this season. I'll give him, the benefit of the doubt. Of in regards to him being the long-term solution for Man United, I'm not too sure about that. But so far this season, McTominay has been very consistent. Still, developing, of course. You've got a lot of years ahead of him, but we have got a lot of young players in the squad that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. But I thought McTominay, did quite well today. Pereira, I don't think he's performed, to the standards, to the same sort of standards as we all thought he would have done. Well, he hasn't performed to the same, he hasn't performed to the level, as I thought he would have done, Andres Pereira. So I think Andres Pereira has been, quite poor this season, in my opinion. With Rashford, he hasn't performed to the same sort of extent this season as how Daniel James has, and Wan-Bissaka has, and Harry Maguire has, and all that. I don't think Rashford's been too good this season, to be quite honest with you. I'll still say as a long-term solution for Manchester United is Marcus Rashford, and obviously needs to be given a bit more time. Obviously Rashford was playing centrally today, and I always said he doesn't suit that central position as I initially thought he did. He's been poor in that central position, when he has played there this season. Obviously he's fulfilling Anthony Martial's role, and I think Martial, is more of a standout player in that central position. But yeah, definitely no further more investment is needed in the squad. But Solskjaer does need backing in January and perhaps next summer. But if this bad run of form continues, Solskjaer may not be here by January, as you do all currently know. It was good to see Angel Gomez come on in the game. Like I said, obviously, he played midweek against FC Mestania. So it was good to see Angel Gomez, come on. Alex Tuanzebe, obviously, he didn't play today. Like I did say, didn't she say, he's going to be a big part in the squad this season. But obviously, we've got Rochdale coming up. I think it's on, is it Wednesday? Rochdale at home. That's in the Carabao Cup. So obviously, that's another particular game where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has got a chance, to go more with the youth in that particular game. But Mason Greenwood, should be ready for the game on Tuesday or Wednesday anyway. Mason Greenwood, Solskjaer did actually say prior to this game, he actually said that it's impossible to drop Mason Greenwood, if he keeps scoring and, he does keep if he does keep the consistency up. Obviously, if he keeps the consistency up, Mason Greenwood, will get more minutes under his belt. I'd say at this moment in time, Mason Greenwood's a better solution than Rashford, to be quite honest, because when Mason Greenwood's performed, he seemed to have performed better than Marcus Rashford, to be quite honest with you. So I would prefer Mason Greenwood at this moment in time, over Marcus Rashford. Obviously, Chong, obviously, he played against FC Mestani. Obviously, he's the upcoming future, Miss Chong. Obviously, he made his full debut last season, did Chong. Obviously, Chong is only 19 years of age. He's been in negotiations with the football club over a new contract, I think. Obviously, Chong, could have returned back to Feyenoord this summer on loan. Obviously, could have gone to PSV, but he had turned them loan offers down. So we have got a lot of young players in the squad. We've also got a lot of experienced players in the squad. But despite the fact that a lot of players have now left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe as we speak that there is a lot of problematic. There's still quite a few problematic players at the football club. I think definitely Phil Jones needs to be moved on in January or next summer. Jones has been at Man United 8 years. He's now into his 9th season as a Manchester United player. I think definitely Matic needs to be moved on. Again, I thought Matic was really, really poor today. He's too slow, is Matic. Matic has only played the last 3 games, obviously due to Paul Pogba's absentee. And Matic is too inconsistent, and reports were emerging out earlier on this week saying that 4 clubs have been in for Nemanja Matic. A host of Italian clubs have been in for him. It says Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan. Also, Borussia Dortmund, the German side, have also been interesting. But Matic's current deal expires at the end of the season. Don't forget, we have got an option to extend his contract by a further year, but I doubt Manchester United will do that. And Matic did say a couple of weeks ago that he was infuriated with lack of game time this season because he is no longer first choice. If Pogba would have been fit now, Matic, wouldn't have been starting from the start. Matic is now 31 years of age. He is, too slow in that, and I've got strong reservations about the player. But yeah, quite a lot of teams are in for him. Obviously, this is now his 3rd season as a Manchester United player. This was Matic's 91st appearance for the club today. Don't forget, in all competitions, I think 67 of those appearances have come in the Premier League, and we paid around £40 million for Nemanja Matic. So for me, he's a player that definitely needs to be moved on in January or next summer if we can. Try and cash in for Matic in January. Rojo, obviously he's going to find game time very, very difficult now. Maybe in the cup games in the Europa League and that he'll get the chances with Rojo, but I've got a lot of concerns about him anyway. He's injury prone. He's sustained quite a few injuries during his Manchester United tenure. I think his versatility is very, very good. He can play as a centre back, which he's predominantly a centre back. He can play as a full back. He can play as a wing back. So I think he's another player that does need to be moved on. Everton obviously inquired about getting him on deadline day and that. But for me, there's still problematic players and that at the football club. But like I said, despite that we've been a toxic club for the last 6 or 7 years, we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are the most successful team in England. Historically, we've won 13 Premier League, 7 All First divisions. So that's obviously 20 titles more in all. We've got a fantastic fan base. But we are still a massive club. I don't like the way the football club's been run anywhere in the last 6 or 7 years. You could arguably say, if we had got a director of footballing, earlier on in the summer, maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have been batsman, because obviously, don't forget, for the entirety of the summer, basically, we was in search for a new director of football. I did say that's a structural change, that we do need at the football club is a, director of football. Don't forget, there was quite a few names, linked with the director's role throughout the course of the summer, and that, Ed Woodward, is keen on, I think, getting a director of football in. As reports emerged out, I think, a couple of weeks ago, saying that, we was interested in recommending Edwin van der Sarven, to become the new director at Manchester United. Obviously, don't forget, he's already been at the club as Edwin van der Sar. He'd served 6 years at Man United. Obviously, he's currently a CEO at Ajax now. I think he's now into his 4th season at Ajax. He obviously has got the experience and that. He obviously has, got that experience in that. But, so we're still in search for a new director of football. It isn't assured that Van der Sar will come in and fulfil the director's role. But, there was just a lot of talks about, going on the other week and that. But for me, this year, this is just not acceptable, for a club of this size and that. And I think, if we don't, if we lose any more games, before Christmas and that, the pressure will even mount up more on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But I just keep saying, I do want his tenure to work out at Manchester United. I did say I'm hopeful that this team at this day and age, can replicate, what the team did, under Alex Ferguson. But obviously, I have got huge doubts about that. But like I did say, I've already explained the reasons why it didn't work out in the other managerial tenures. It didn't work out for them. Obviously it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho because obviously Jose Mourinho, had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with the top players. Obviously, the board weren't backing the signings that I wanted to recommend into the football club last summer, and that's also something else you can pinpoint out. We haven't been nowhere near competitive enough in the last 4-5 transfer windows as well. So obviously that might have gone against us. We got 3 players in this summer who wasn't competitive enough. Obviously, we didn't get anyone in January. We didn't get our number 1 targets last summer and that. We only managed to get Dalot, Fred and Lee Grant in last summer under the Jose Mourinho era, and obviously we do know that that's not good enough. I did say always spending big on players and getting them Glasgow players doesn't always guarantee you success, and that's been proven with the football club in the last 6 or 7 years. But with Jose Mourinho, the time we did recommend him in, we thought it was going to work out, and we thought he was, going to get Manchester United, back to where they should be and that. But it didn't materialise, despite that he won the Europa League and the League Cup in his first season at the club. He just didn't exceed expectations. Mourinho, as we all thought he would have done. There was no the philosophy wasn't right. There was no sort of winning. There was no winning mentality. It was part of the bus football and that. So this is why it didn't work out under him. And just under £400 million was spent under Mourinho, and obviously under Louis van Gaal era, I had the same level of hatred for Van Gaal and I did David Moyes. And Van Gaal at the time we got him in, we thought he would got us back to where we wanted to be. Despite what he did at Bayern Munich, at that time, before he came to Manchester United. But again, he didn't have the right philosophy. Van Gaal did bring a lot of players in there to the football club and spent over £200 million. And then obviously, with David Moyes, obviously we knew when we potted him in, we had a feeling it was never going to work out under him. He was never proven as a top manager. He never really dealt with top players, despite the fact at that time, at that current time, obviously Moyes had been at Everton. He'd served 9 or 10 years there with Everton, before he came to Man United. At the time Moyes came in, it was obviously Ferguson that recommended him in, because obviously, they were both Scottish and that. But Moyes, only suffered, he only, enjoyed a short tenure with the club. I think he only lasted 10 months, something like that. And I think the lowest we finished, well, as what I've known anywhere, the lowest we finished is 7th, and that was under the David Moyes era. So last season was the lowest we finished, since the David Moyes era. But something does need to change, and you can, take into account that, obviously when we first appointed Alex Ferguson in, obviously, we didn't win out. He didn't win out in his first 4 seasons at the football club and that, and obviously, then look what he was close to getting the sack, and then basically, look what materialised then. Look at the success, that we had then after that 4-year period. But obviously, we do know now the boards and that, a lot more ruthless now, regarding managers and stuff. Obviously, they want us nowhere near as ruthless, back in that back in the day and that, and. But you can take that into account, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that. Solskjaer did say, he believes he's following Alex Ferguson's philosophy. That's what he actually said, earlier on in his summer. I just don't think he's good enough to succeed as a manager. He had that proven pedigree as a player. One of his most iconic moments, Solskjaer obviously, was back in 1999 and that, when he won the club the treble. But I just don't think we're ever going to be the team, that we was in that. But it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, and there's nothing really much more to say. And I do believe more players are probably going to leave the football club anyway. I think probably Paul Pogba's going to leave in January, or he's probably going to leave next summer. To be quite honest with you, recent reports did say we're set to hold further more talks. With I think Paul Pogba's agent Mini Riley, to possibly discuss. A possibility, of renewing Paul Pogba's contract at the football club, because we do know Paul Pogba's got 2 years left on his contract at the club with an option to extend it by a further year, and we do know he's on around 290 grand a week, is Paul Pogba. So in that aspect, he's one of the highest paid players in the football club. And Paul Scholes, he gave his overarching view recently on the Paul Pogba situation. He actually believes Man United losing Paul Pogba, wouldn't be a loss to the football club, because he actually, if this is his own opinion and his overarching view, he believes that there's other players in the squad, that can, perform to his standards. I actually disagree with him on that aspect, to be quite honest, because you can see the difference in that midfield, when you do take Paul Pogba out of the equation anyway. And even with Paul Pogba in the midfield, I've still got element of concerns about that midfield, because that midfield area is one of the priority areas, definitely, where Manchester United do need to strengthen up. We didn't recommend a midfielder throughout the course of the summer, which was very, very disappointing. But, Pogba, attracted interest from quite a few clubs throughout the course of summer. It was mainly Real Madrid that were the architect. Obviously, there was relentlessly linked with him and that. But I did say, reflecting on the substantial amount we put on Paul Pogba, that was the stumbling block of him leaving Manchester United for Real Madrid throughout the course of the summer, because we said we wanted around 179 or 180 million pounds for him. Obviously, Real Madrid were not willing to pay that, because Real Madrid did spend a substantial amount throughout the course of the summer. They spent around 300 million pounds on 5 players. They sold some players, so they did generate, some of that money back. But yeah, Paul Pogba said early on this summer, he wanted to leave Manchester United, and he did say, at some point in his career, he does want to go represent Real Madrid, and obviously he's probably keen on playing under Zinedine Zidane's guidance, and Zinedine Zidane did identify, Paul Pogba as his number one priority target and that. But I think definitely Real Madrid are going to reignite their interest in January. Obviously, we said, if we had to soften our stance on Paul Pogba in January, we want in the region of around £179 million. So, more or less we're demanding the same sort of amount, as we did do earlier on in the summer. So we're demanding, nearly, or we are demanding over double than what we paid for him from Juventus back in 2016. But yeah, Pogba is into his 4th season now as a Man United player, don't forget, since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. Analysing it, he has been mainly inconsistent in that. Obviously, before he sustained this ankle injury, Paul Pogba, I don't think he's performed great this season. He's been okay in parts. Obviously, he missed a penalty early on in the season against Wolves. Obviously, he was subjected to online racial abuse following that penalty miss. I'll credit him in that aspect. I thought he handled, that certain situation well and that. But I still believe Pogba, wants out of the football club. And I did say, some of our imperative players, will want to leave the football club, if we do continue this lack of competitiveness and that, and I think Pogba wants out anyway, because Pogba publicly admitted that he wants to leave the club early on in the summer, and he did actually say, he was seeking for a new challenge, and there was talks about him going back to Turin, because he did have 4 good years with Juventus, but hasn't mainly replicated this at Man United. I think also Barcelona were in for him, don't forget. Paul Pogba's brother, he fueled speculation quite a few times throughout the course of summer, and he actually said that, Paul Pogba will focus on this season with Man United, and he actually recently said the other week that Paul Pogba had spoken to Lionel Messi, but he actually said that Paul Pogba's, that's what it said, and Adidas reportedly had a big part to play, Paul Pogba, staying at the football club for this summer. But it was initially in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans anyway, to build side around Pogba. But definitely we've got to address that midfield in the January transfer window and that. But what a disappointing result that is today. 2-0. Didn't even get a goal as well. And fair play to West Ham. They've enjoyed a really good start to this season. I think Pellegrini only started with managing West Ham last season. I think it was last season. I think this is Manuel Pellegrini's now second season as West Ham manager and that, and I think he's doing a pretty decent job. Don't forget West Ham have got Declan Rice as well. Don't forget Man United. Went in for Declan Rice before. But take the result out of the equation. We've heard some good. We had some good news, this week, in regards, obviously, to David De Gea and Victor Lindelof. Obviously, we do know they've both committed their long-term futures at Manchester United, which is very, very good news. It confirmed earlier on this week that Lindelof has signed a new long-term contract with the football club, so Lindelof has signed a 5-year deal. With an option of a further year, so it's good that he's committed his future with the football club. And Lindelof is still a long-term solution for Man United. He hasn't been fantastic this season. I think most of this season he's replicated what he did in his second season, because he was quite good in his second season. But I think overall he has blended alongside Maguire, fantastically well as Victor Lindelof. But glad he's committed his long-term future with the club. Lindelof obviously has made about 75 appearances now for the club in all competitions since his arrival from Benfica back in 2017. We paid just over £30 million for him. But yeah, Lindelof is the second player this week to commit his future in Man United. Like I said, confirmed on Monday, which was obviously early on this week, that De Gea had signed a new long-term contract with the football club. But that is a very, very good news indeed. And like I did say, we got quite a few players, new contracts, that were in the last years of their deals. Obviously, we did it with Anthony Martial. Obviously, we did it with Rashford. We did it with Mata earlier on in the summer as well. So that's very, very good. I'm still to say, I'm hopeful that Anthony Martial and Luke Shaw and, Paul Pogba all can be back, for the game against Arsenal. I'm hopeful about that, indeed, because we do know when they're playing good, the difference they do make in that team. Martial, I think, before he sustained his injury, he's had a pretty decent start this season as Anthony Martial. Obviously, he scored 50 goals for the club now in all competitions, by the way. He's now into his 5th season as a Manchester United player, is Anthony Martial. Obviously, he's under contract with the club until 2024, is he? He signed, don't forget, a 5-year deal back in January. But yeah, he stands out more in that central position, even though he primarily, does play out wide. But he has been here since Louis van Gaal. He has had rough moments, during his Man United tenure, but I think he's been mainly, consistent. Still hasn't quite, emulated that level yet. He has been subjected to transfer speculation in the past, don't forget as well, back under the Jose Mourinho, where there was talks about, Anthony Martial leaving the football club. So it is compatible in that aspect, because, Pogba, was subject to a lot of transfer speculation back under the Jose Mourinho era and that. But Martial's is a thigh injury. We know he hasn't played, for Man United since the Crystal Palace game, but I think he should be definitely, back for Arsenal. I don't think they'll play midweek probably, because even if they're fully fit, because I think Solskjaer will make a lot of alterations for the game against Rochdale. Luke Shaw, hamstring injury. He's obviously, missed the last 4 games for the football club. Luke Shaw, obviously, he's our first choice left back, and that obviously mainly Young has been fulfilling his role at left back position. Obviously, Luke Shaw, I think analysing the majority of his Man United career, I do believe he's been mainly consistent as Luke Shaw. He's had some rough patches here and there. He had a bad spell under Mourinho, and he's sustained quite a few injuries as a Man United player. But don't forget, Luke Shaw won the double player of the season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances, and we do know the difference he can make on that left-hand side, when he's playing to his potential best. And other injuries we've got, Eric Bailly's a long-term absence, he's out until the new year. Obviously, we do know that Fossil Mensah, of course, don't forget, he's out. I think he's out for a long time back. I'm not too sure, when he's back. We do know recently Diego Dalot has just recovered from a groin problem. Don't forget, he started in the game against FC Mestania. Yeah, so what's going on there with Manchester United, to be quite honest with you, what is going on? And, the question is, as people were saying the other day, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's revolution, working at Manchester United and that. But yeah, a lot of people now think, he's not going to last at the football club. But I'd like to know in your comments below, if Solskjaer is to leave Manchester United, who would you, recommending, to come in to the football club, because maybe people believe, there needs to be, like fundamental changes, at Manchester United and that. But something, needs to change, and that whether it's the manager that goes or, the team needs to perform better and that, I don't know what's going on, to be quite honest with you. But we know that the squad's not good enough to win the league. We knew that at the end of last season. Obviously, we want to get back to winning the Super. These are our ambitions for the future, but I just can't see this happening, at this moment in time. I can't see it happening, for a good few years at least, and that. But our aspirations will be that top four in the next couple of seasons, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. So yeah, 6 games now into the Premier League season. So we've won 2, we've drawn 2, and of course we have lost 2. So that is a terrible start to the season. Like I said, games are coming up thick and fast. Rochdale coming up midweek in the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford. I wasn't, sure that we're going to win that game either, because look what happened last season, the Carabao Cup. We got knocked out by Derby. Obviously the game against Arsenal is going to be such a hard game. Even though Arsenal haven't enjoyed a great start to the season, but I still think it's going to be a very, very difficult game. We know Man United and Arsenal is not the iconic fixture, as it was back in the day when we had Ferguson and they had Arsene Wenger and that. You could say we're sort of on the same level as Arsenal. They did really good investment throughout the course of summer. And not too sure, is it Alkmaar, AZ Alkmaar after Arsenal in the Europa League? I think we've got Newcastle coming up soon as well. So, games are coming up, thick and fast. But for me, and it's not only that, it's not just the problems on the pitch and that. I think there's also problems off the pitch, Obviously, we've spent a lot of money at the club. Obviously, we're well known for overpaying for players as well. We have got a history of doing that, And then when it comes to letting them go, we'll let them go for next to nothing. And, there's been prime examples of that this summer. We'll let Darmian go for next to nothing. I know he endured the difficult, 4 years with Man United, Darmian, and he was service to requirements at the football club anyway. But that's not the point, We paid £12.7 million for him from Torino back in 2015, and then we let him go, about 2 or 3 weeks ago now, was it? We let him go for just over £3 million. So we've lost out on just over £9 million there. With Ander Herrera, some people may say it's a mistake that we let Ander Herrera go, because we do know he made a difference in that midfield as well, especially when he was playing, alongside Pogba and that. He used to free up Paul Pogba, did Ander Herrera. But it's not only that, we let him go on a free transfer. We let his contract run down. We paid £29 million for him from Bilbao back in 2014. He had 5 successful years at Man United. Then we let him go for next to nothing and that. I thought we overpaid for Fred. I'll credit Fred, though, in the aspect I think he's done well. He did well when he came on the day. I thought he did well midweek against FC Astana. Also did well in the game against Leicester, when he came on, Fred. So I'll credit him for that. But I think we still overpaid for him. We paid just under £50 million for Fred, don't forget. Harry Maguire, I also believe the club overpaid for him. We paid around, £80 million for him. He's the most expensive defender in the world. I did say in these markets this day and age, you have got to overpay for players in that. And, I think Harry Maguire is settled in very, very well at Man United, as Solskjaer was saying the other week. And, I think, if he continues the consistency up, his valuation will grow, just like Wan-Bissaka's will, because a lot of people believe that Wan-Bissaka, has been our most consistent signing and that. But yeah, so I'm glad, we got the experienced centre half in. I'm happy we got the right back in, but we didn't address enough of the areas in the summer. We didn't get a midfielder in. Don't forget, we didn't get a right winner in. Was in search for a right winner for the majority of the summer. But for me, I was disappointed throughout the course of summer. We didn't recruit with replacement for Herrera and Fellaini. We didn't recruit with replacement for Romelu Lukaku. So for me, the board in that aspect, just not being, ruthless enough in the windows and that. So that's a problem as well. But yeah, guys, there's nothing much really more to say. And, do Man United ever going to win the Premier League again? Maybe, in time to come, but it's not going to be for a long, long time. We haven't won it since 2013. Obviously, it actually was in Alex Ferguson's last time we won it. And that, you can say that particular season, Van Persie won as a league, reflecting him on the amount of goals and that he scored. But this is just not acceptable, for a club of this size and that. It's just not acceptable and that. So we will see what happen. So yeah, that is your match reaction for the West Ham Man United game. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe. As always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching.